in the know. I like to be aware, especially when it has to do with the PD.
Yeah.
Now, I also don't think it's productive to just meet for no reason. I think there's always something to talk about, whether it's us talking to DOJ or a legislative body, or them talking to us, or even just giving 2 cents where we sit in a corner and we're up to par as to what's being talked about, and if questions do arise, we're able to answer them. I like talking. I like communication, so I'm all for having those meetings. I also like having them structured. So having our thoughts kind of jotted down real quick as to what we want to talk about, and then covering those, so we're not there for 6 hours. But I am very much in support of them.
Agree. Did you have a chance to think about the wait, what the fuck? Where'd all my shit go? Oh, I left it on the ground. I left it on the ground. Okay, that makes sense. Sorry, I was wondering why my pockets were empty.
All right.
So, did you think about the VAF stuff?
I'm going to be honest. I should think about it more. I spoke to Nakota briefly about it. I've spoken to Peters. I just don't have a good answer. I don't have a good answer. None of us have a good answer. We're going to reconvene, at least a group of us, and I'm going to try to keep reaching out.
I think we just do it.
I want an approach. I don't think removing him is a play. I don't think we should have a mechanism in place to seize these cars eventually.
You do have a way to seize it. So eventually. Okay.
Well, I'm not talking about the first time you use a car or seize it. I'm talking about seizing it,
I think your mechanism is and should be effectively if something. So I'm going to give you a different perspective, and and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, all right? But I'd rather shoot straight with you. I think there's a fundamental VAFs are a cheat code, but it's a cheat code that is working against you guys, given how much effort you're putting into having to do all these things. And while I can understand, for the day-to-day person, once again, I stand by that. It sounds to me like your best are the ones doing the work, whereas your not so brightest are skipping it. So you're burning out your good officers that do write diligent reports from having to carry a lot of the burden, especially in cases where that can get easily overturned when there is not a suspect that is in custody. I've also just came to learn that apparently accessory is being used in VAF cases. I don't know. I wish you were there for that. It got brought up to me just now. In other words, is that you right there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll walk on over.
You want to go over to the park?
Yeah, we can go to the park.
All right.
So it just came to my notice that accessory charges tend to be used almost not exclusively, but tremendously more on VAF, so as to avoid less of a contest in an appeal, which is screams bad faith to me.
Give me the example as to what transpired.
Well, I don't want to go into the nitty gritty of that. My point is that there's a lot of negatives that that I'm seeing weighed here with the existing VAF legislation. If the concern is that you want to seize vehicles and
can I put it simple?
Yes.
What the goal is: deter using these vehicles in crimes.
Agreed.
Have weight behind it if caught.
Yeah.
And ultimately have an end goal. Okay, goal is not the right word for it. Have a end result of a seizure.
You want to drink?
A serious. Sure, I'll take one. Thank you.
Yeah.
A serious. Repercussion for repeated offenses.
And I think that's why I lean so much to that penal charge is it's nipping it in the bud, right? Is that charge should hit. It would sting. And it effectively is additive. It's kind of like we have this complex equation called the VAF, when it could be so much simplified with a 2 charges, one below a one below a vehicle, like a score number, and one above a certain number. It has the deterrence because there's an additional fine in time, both punitive as well as you're in jail and you get a massive fine, right? While simultaneously it would affect those that are utilized. It would also bridge that gap of if you let your friend borrow the vehicle and that friend goes and uses it in a crime, that friend is the one that's getting hit. It does not take away the ability to subpoena a vehicle.
Subpoena a vehicle. I haven't heard.
Sorry,
of this
not
before.
subpoena. Sorry. Seize a vehicle. Right now, the VAF is like a formula, right? And that's why I'm saying it's like attempting to create a cheat code, which apparently isn't working very well. If you find, let's say hypothetically, somebody who is actively over and over again utilizing a particular car in a crime, then you can still seize it, just like you can seize properties today. And to me, when I think of how has VAF worked in the last year and a half, very few vehicles get seized because effectively your cards are on the table. If, say, some person keeps driving the same car and in some number of crimes, file a subpoena on it, right? And not to mention these charges that you would be pressing on that individual in this case would act as direct evidence, right? So say, for example, you've got Bobby Smith, and Bobby Smith keeps using his supercar in a maze bank robbery. They're getting charged with, using a high-performance vehicle over and over again. And now you've got, let's say, 4 of these charges. You then file a subpoena for the car, or not a subpoena, a seizure for the car using those reports as the record. That's
is there anything like that in legislation that
you don't need it in legislation? No.
I'm just going to be honest. I've never heard of anybody seizing a car in that sense, and I'm not sure what the process would look like for that.
You just like you would seize a property.
I'm not versed in that.
So any seizure is, you would be filing, on the docket, seize. So today, like, a property will be requested for seizure, in court, right? Usually as a part of a docket case, because usually the seizure is coinciding with, drug trafficking or whatever the big charge is. If, for example, you wanted to target like 9F Terry, right? Or 10F Terry, as they used to call him. After Terry has been hit and found and documented having used his vehicle X amount of times, you then make that a vehicle of a vehicle that you're looking to target. And the next time the right detective, sees that in a thing, they hold the charges and they go to the docket with it. And you say, look, we're looking to seize it. Here are 4 other incidents in which Terry robbed a store or a bank with these things. And this is this 4th or 5th time. We're looking to charge him with this and seize the vehicle. And there you go.
Do I need the owner of the vehicle in custody, or can just the vehicle be utilized?
Well, it's a docket case, right?
What does that mean in that sense?
It's a it's on the docket. So
well, it's on the docket, but let's say
you don't need.
I go to 5 Polito robberies.
Mm-hmm.
I go to 5 Polito robberies over the last 2 weeks, and the same, supercars parked out front. A red, Lampadati, whatever, parked out front.
And you have the license
We don't
plate?
catch them. We got a license plate.
That's exactly why I think it's cooked. The fact that if you have 5 of the same vehicle showing up and you can actually document it because it's outside the fucking place, right? Like, oh my God, holy fuck, man. It's, by the way, my exacerbation isn't with you. It's just the seeing how far things have gone. If Bob Smith's, 10F is outside of a Polito bank over and over and over and over again, that vehicle can be raided. It can be seized out of the garage. You can even make an argument for a seizure. I think part of the problem that's occurring right now is that those tools are, someone has to go and try it, and it may fail a couple times, but y'all are well within your right to be able to do that today.
Okay, so let's say shows up the 5th time. We don't catch him anytime because the car's unbelievably
I'm
fast.
giving away cheat codes right now.
Whatever the case may be, we don't catch him. We then put it on the docket. This vehicle is found in front of a Polito robbery. We're requesting for, a seizure of sorts. Here's our evidence from all of them. Evidence, linking that vehicle to each robbery. The owner shows up and says, I have no knowledge of this. I've never done this before. I don't have a record of it.
Don't you know the vehicle isn't tampered with?
Well,
is the tampering outside or inside the vehicle? It's outside, right?
It'd be visible. It
would, because otherwise you'd never be able to do. There's
different kinds of tampering, right? The tampering could be the locks, could be the ignition, the center column.
You'd probably need to verify it, right? Like if I was hypothetically, this is a great question for some of your old guys.
Right.
Yeah. So,
I know the answer to this. You could visibly see it.
Okay. So if you visibly see that a vehicle that is on a felon constantly showing up at a Polito bank, then you absolutely have the tools. Now, I understand that things haven't been done, but that's also because, things have been cooked and it's not legislatively. It's just, I mean, you heard the energy in the room today. Even that quite frankly pissed me off. The whole TLDR bullshit about, oh my God, they wrote a fucking paragraphs and paragraphs. It's like, what the fuck? You know what I'm talking about?
No, did I miss that?
Oh yeah, people are fucking crying about the DOJ report that was put up. The DOJ expectations of court.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is amazing.
Oh, you didn't hear what was being said in the room?
No, what was that?
Oh yeah, there was like a good 2 minutes where they were like, oh my God, ain't nobody gonna read that wall of text.
Right. Okay,
yo, TLDR. I was kind of like, bruh.
It's ridiculous. Unfortunately, I'm actually extremely surprised. There was Opal of all people who said that.
It wasn't just Opal. There was a lot of people, right?
Well, I mean, there's some
Opal
people
at
you expect it from, and some you don't.
Yeah, I mean,
let me put it that way.
Listen, I'm an Opal enjoyer, right? I will say that I think, it depends who says things, right? Opal was probably joking, but she added on to what was already being said. Now, this isn't, I only bring that up, right, as a point that, you could probably count on your hands how many people are going to read this, right? So, and therefore it's understandable how there's probably very few officers that are familiar with what they can and cannot do without it being legislated, even though those tools exist. And I think, VAF is not necessary for seizures. If anything, that VAF legislation may limit what you can and cannot do. Because hypothetically, if I was a detective and I had a good conversation with Brian over the weekend, and You know, it sounds to me like y'all be able to grab this shit even without the VAF legislation. It's just someone's got to poke at it. Now, DOJ can come back and be like, no, dog, but that's not... Court cases are not about W's and L's. It's about, via many cases and many filings, finding out where the lines are. Because the lines are entirely dependent on who the justices are that are sitting at that particular time. So 6 months ago, you could do some things. Today, you're going to be able to do other things and not do other things. 6 months from now, it's going to change again. Because ultimately, justices are just a set of individuals that interpret the law based on their perspectives. So...
Yeah,
and the argument has to also be very good too, right? So someone who you throw at something like this has to make a very good argument for why that seizure needs to take place. Now, it is true that you may end up with a judge who's like, beep, boop, beep, beep, like no 3 strikes, but that would be shit. And you know what that person should do? Refile it again. And if someone's like, whoa, we thought we couldn't do this last time. It's like, yeah, but that opinion was wrong. I don't know. We're at the memorial right now. Me and Turner.
Okay.
Right. So I'm trying to give you some food for thought.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I guess the part that I'm confused about is a lot of people are under the impression, myself, it seems like in some places as well, unless something has some legislative backing, it doesn't exist. So
no, that's not true. You have the Constitution. If it needed legislative backing, then you couldn't arrest anybody. Where does it say you can detain someone?
But there's a legislation that says detainment, probable cause, right?
Nope, we're writing it right now. Where does it say it?
Really?
Yep. Because the legislation does not need to write everything out. I know there's a perception that's the case. That's not true. You have the Constitution. And the Constitution grants you the authority to... All legislation is adding clarity or restricting or expanding, right? So the Constitution says you as the Los Santos Police Department is responsible for the county's public services. Chief of police is the mayor. Like, and then you've got the, law. So legislation takes the Constitution and it's either clarifying, expanding, or limiting or prohibiting things that are in the Constitution. You with me?
I am, yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess that's legislation gets established due to XYZ happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something transpires.
In fact, we have had some cooked precedent and case law that has been pushed through. But some that's been fantastic, and that's how it happened, right? Like, I don't know who that cop is that pushed y'all to push the aiding and abetting charge, but look at what happened, right? I'm sure there was a lot of people that were like, you can't do that. That's not what it says. But then it went to court, and in turn came precedents, right? Because the spirit of what was written was brought forward, and an argument was set forth as to why, McQuillan should have been gotten aiding and abetting, or not. McQuillan's friend should have gotten aiding and abetting. Well, he wasn't charged then. The charge came out as a consequence, right? So, I think that's why sometimes, like, we'll have these conversations and I may sound like I'm disinterested in pushing someone for it, but it has sometimes it's less to do with helping or not helping argument, but more of it's dangerous to over legislate. Because every
I'm with you there.
Yeah,
I understand. I really am. I understand Every time you put a constraint on something, you're affecting more than just the intended outcome.
Yeah, exactly. Can create a massive like ripple effect.
Right, ripple effect. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I do understand that. I guess I'm not educated in this area in terms of filing the seizure documents you're talking about.
You need some crackheads.
Do you know of someone who is within our department?
Yeah, are you talking to me?
I'm asking either of you. Do you know anybody who's proficient and intelligent when it comes to these seizure documents that I could talk to and maybe learn from a bit?
Opal? Knight?
Who have we ever seized a property?
I can't think of. The police department seized a property.
Yes, of course. I think you have. It was a while ago, but that was as a consequence of a docket posting, right? And that's a request as a consequence of those charges.
I vaguely remember.
I will say that there is also this perception of like, you know what? You should probably talk to Knight about it. So, anyways, we're Peters, when he walked up, we were talking about the VAF and whatnot, and to give you a summary, I'm still very much advocating we throw away the VAF and turn it into a charge. But I'm also, we're talking about how I said y'all still have the tools to actually seize vehicles without the VAF anyways. And an example being if Bob Smith, where his vehicle constantly is outside of Polito, you have the license plate, you know whether or not it's tampered, and you can show that pattern in court. And having a charge makes it easier for you to actually start making that argument, because if Bob was arrested 4 times and his vehicle is documented, you don't need to put it in your possession. That would be an odd requirement. Why would it need to be in your possession? You document it, it's there. Is that you can go and file either directly file a seizure and a writ to prevent him from selling it, then notify him. You cannot sell that, the docket case is up, right? If he sells it, he's gonna get hit with contempt of court, or felony obstruction, or actually evidence tampering. And you either seize it directly, or alternatively on that 5th time that he was arrested, you put it on the docket for his Polito robbery, and you put the vehicle as the addition.
The statute of limitations apply to it?
I would say it needs to be within statute. Yeah.
Currently, seizing cars doesn't even happen.
You could make an argument that the statute may not apply. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, that's for the courts to determine whether the legislation. You can take a look at it, due process.
I'm just thinking in general. I mean, like you said, we barely seize cars as is right now, and it doesn't apply to you.
I feel like this is going to make it a lot easier, if I'm going to be honest. But it requires probably a shift in how to think through the problem. And once again, I'm going to say that, yeah, y'all barely do seize it because people switch that shit. So like, you don't, like, if you're going to seize some shit, you don't want them to know it's coming. And right now, VAF is like, oh, we're going to get you with your 2 points. And it's like, oh, Pikachu face, they throw all the bots on.
I'm just trying to think if we're gonna go this route. I'm trying to think like what this looks like in practice. On paper, things will look great in conversation. I'm trying to think in practice. I'm going through the steps and process. And then throw in the loophole. So, like, we could still say a vehicle was used in a Polito robbery, was not tampered with on scene. We could document that and technically hold that against the per se, right?
Sorry, say that last bit again.
We spoke about it earlier, but we arrive at, say, a bank robbery, a Polito robbery, any violent robbery or crime being taken place, and we can document that vehicle, the plate, description, take a full photo of it, check for tampering. There's no visible tampering. That can be held against that vehicle, no matter whether we catch a driver or not, right? Because it is being utilized.
Yeah, it's evidence, 100%. That and that's kind of what I'm advocating for. Like, it's I recognize why things have gotten to where they are, because things have been a lot more transactional across the board, right? With other things as well. And so, but no, if the thing was not tampered with and there's evidence of it, and you got photographs and all that shit, you don't even need it in your possession. Why would you need it? It was in your possession. You documented it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, it's yeah.
This is going to have a negative impact. This is going to actually loosen it. I'm just going to be honest. This is actually going to loosen it and cause more cars to be seized. Now it has nothing.
That's what I've been saying. Yeah, that's what I've been saying from the beginning, Turner.
Okay.
Like, you have the tools, right? In the same vein,
right.
like you go raid some shit and you know that it was used in the act of whatever, like, nothing's stopping y'all from like filing. It all comes down to what the judge that is reviewing it decides. And you're gonna have one that might be like, nah, you gotta follow I want 3 of these. You're gonna have another one that's gonna be like, no, like, that's not a good enough argument. The other one might just be like, yeah, hell yeah, all right, you showed me enough evidence. There is gonna be it's at the end of the day, that judge's discretion, right? But a consequence of how good the argument is. And that's the tougher part, right? Is, have you established enough beyond a reasonable doubt that asset is being used actively and perpetually in criminal activity? There are more supercars today than there were doing robberies, very visibly and obviously.
There's never been more supercars in Los Santos than now.
Yeah.
So, playing this out here, we catch a 5-time Polito. I'm just using a random number, right? Catch a 5-time Polito. We document it properly. We put it up on the docket. At that point, the owner's notified. That car's stripped of all its parts.
Yeah.
Do we care?
Oh, sorry. Say that again.
Basically, do we care? Do we care that they are being notified, right? Before it's seized.
The seizure would happen as a consequence of that filing.
Pending the outcome of the case.
Man, Turner, I think some of these details you should probably talk to someone else about, so that I don't refract.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm accidentally refracting a little bit. Yeah.
I'll see if
I don't know what y'all do.
Someone.
You know what I mean?
I'll see if I can find someone that's a bit more educated on this.
Yeah.
Don't pull the trigger yet. Let me try to get a bit more educated.
I'm not doing anything until we both agree to it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm just trying to be helpful here, because investigations right now, they're in a bad place. It's very obvious. There's a lot of crazy shit happening. It's evident with the complaints that are happening. And to me, when I look at this problem, I'm seeing it as like, you got your good people getting burnt out on that. And
we're a very busy city. That's the truth behind it. We need 40 more so that we can actually let people do what they're intended to do. Detectives do what they do, but unfortunately we're so busy at times. Detectives can't be detectives because we got cops bleeding out, getting shot, and screaming for help on the radio.
Sitting with an Astron on the side of the road writing, and then sitting in the fucking garage for an hour plus for a vehicle that has no value to it.
Right. There's a lot of things that are wrong.
Yeah.
But let me see if I can educate on this a bit. Let me see if I can make sure I understand it. Go over some scenarios here and see what we can do from there.
And this is not to say that we wouldn't need some further expanded legislation to add more clarity as to things. Assets are subject to seizure, but as of present, the tools are there, right? There might be light clarifying that might be needed, right? As
long as you know how to use the tools, which I don't.
Yeah.
In terms of, actual seizures and what that process would look like. So that's why I want to get educated first.
Okay.
Understand how to utilize them. And then, because if I don't understand them, how can I expect others to?
Yeah.
I need to be able to try to direct people, maybe find someone to head up some sort of change like that.
Okay.
Let's you want to revisit this just in the near future here? You want to set a date? How do you want to do it?
Give me a ring a ding. You know what I mean? I'm down for whatever. I my life is always moving. I'm buying and selling, so. Which, by the way, we just got done with where we did 2,000 boxes, no yotes. So we're going to move on to engine parts next. I'm hoping to open up quartz by end of week. It kind of depends on my, the development of the website, which hopefully wraps up in a week.
You said 2,000 boxes and no yoke. So there's different types of boxes, right?
Well,
these are parts boxes.
Correct. So that's what we're opening up next. And we have gotten a good amount of engines. Listen, yoke might be like a fucking unicorn now. So.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, 1 yote in 4,000 boxes. That's kind of crazy.
But these aren't engine boxes, right? There's an actual engine box.
And the engine box is what we're going to do next.
That's what you're doing next. Okay, so these are performance boxes.
Correct. But
how many stage 5s have you recovered? Like sets of stage 5s? You up in the 10, 20s now, or?
It's a 2.5% chance to get a singular stage 5.
Okay. What is that? 1 in 40? Yeah, 1 in 40. Okay.
We have, give me a sec. Maybe 10 stage 5s in $15 million of boxes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's something else. Okay.
And we got a lot today, by the way. We got lucky on stage 5s today. Give me a sec.
All right. Well, let us know when you need the next transport covered. I foresee issues coming with these transports. We need to be careful.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm not going to be in the next
today.
one. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I'm going, I think it might be a member of PD that I may want picking him up. Because I can't be putting myself in between that. Give me just a second. Let me run you a number real quick.
Okay.
There was more stage 4s today. What the fuck? Significantly more.
Interesting. That's a good change.
%. Oh wait, is it the same? Oh no, it was about the same. It was about the same as the first 1,000, but not the second 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, but
interesting. How many boxes did you do today?
2,000. We doubled it, so it's $10 million worth.
You did 2,000 boxes today.
Yep.
You opened 2,000 boxes already.
I am the best businessman and logistical master that the city has ever seen.
What if you just have bad RNG? You don't have the luck.
Because I can prove that with statistics, which I already did.
Which you
did you
prove
do? Well, did you
do
the same test? Did you do the same test with somebody else opening it?
Yep. There's 4 of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did about 2,000 boxes in less than an hour, I think. And then they got sorted when he gave me a call, so that was within that 1 hour time frame. Yeah, we you should see our The court center is extremely organized. We have 10 boxes, places to put all the parts. They get sorted, and there's 4 of us that do it at once. So we each open 500 each, and then they get sorted into the appropriate boxes. Stage 1s get put somewhere. Stage 2s go somewhere else. Stage 3s go somewhere else. They all get turned into scraps. Turbos go into a set of boxes. Engines in a set of boxes. We have someone who's sorting out slicks and this and that and the third. And then after that's done, the team goes and starts scrapping everything down. So everything should be in their appropriate places. That second part happened while we were in the meeting. So you want to see the facility? You want to see it real quick?
Yeah, let's go look at it.
Yeah.
Was that where we were yesterday or the other day?
Oh, I made it better this morning. Yeah.
I need to talk to you about that legislation. You just are getting the charge reworded.
Which one?
You're talking about in the penal code or?
Yeah, the mass murder one. I mean, I guess it could be. We could always set the precedence through a trial with the justice if we needed to, but which is probably the easier way. I think it just needs to state.
You don't even know. You don't. Sorry, keep going. I just remembered. I haven't even told you about some other thing.
No. I like a clause, basically like a clause.
Wait, he doesn't even know about Leviathan.
In the charge that says something along the lines of like, this charge applies when the actions were carried out by a single person or as a part of a coordinated effort involving multiple individuals acting in furtherance of the same event or objective.
Wouldn't that be accessory or accomplice at that point?
Well, that's the thing is that it shouldn't. That charge shouldn't have an accomplice or an accessory charge. I don't.
Which one?
Mass murder.
Wait, why wouldn't it? If I bomb, there's the person who bombs the PD. There's the person that helped bring the guy with the bomb to the PD, and then there's the person that was a getaway that didn't know that you were going to bomb the PD.
It's the guy, right?
Am I driving to Peter's, by the way?
I have to shit so bad. Yes, I'll drive. I don't know. Yeah, let me see. Do I have my car here?
I'll drive.
We could take my